In this video, we're going to talk about a contest type on DraftKings for NFL DFS that's going to help you up your profitability game and stay in the game long enough to take down one of those giant tournaments that we all attack every season. What's up, guys? My name's Kevin Allen, aka the Fantasy Football Geek from DFS Army, and I've been in the DFS game pretty much as long as anybody. I started on DraftKings as soon as it came out back in 2012. I was one of the first players, and for many years, I was one of the top 50 players in the world. Now, I wanted to let you in on a little known secret, I'm going to say, of how I've been able to stay in the DFS game for so many years, continuing to have a bankroll, have an account, and play and have fun with DFS and not have to constantly make deposits into my DraftKings account. And the contest type I want to talk about are multipliers. I'm going to explain why multipliers are such a powerful tool for increasing your bankroll here in a second. But let me first get into the math of what a multiplier is. So in a standard tournament, and let's pull up the Milli Maker for NFL Week 1. Right, in a standard tournament, you would put in a $5 entry and have a shot at prize pool, including $1 million to first. Understanding that first place in this contest is literally a 1 in a million lotto ticket. By that, I mean your chances of coming in first against a million other lineups is literally 1 in a million. So you got a 1 in a million shot at first. Great. I love it. I want to take my shots. Right? I'll take my 1 in a million shots to win that $1 million. But here's the thing. You're probably not going to win this. Now, you might, but the odds are 1 in a million. Now, let's say you're really, really great at DFS. You're the best. Your lineups are so great. So maybe you can increase your odds to 2 in a million for every lineup you put in. Maybe 3 in a million if you're really, really great. Maybe even 5 in a million or 10 in a million or 10 and divided by 2, 5 in half a million. 1 in 100,000 if you're great at making lineups. The point is you're probably not winning this. So if you're playing DFS with the hope of entering massive contests like the Milli Maker or the play action, that $3 contest, or the dollar contest, which I just like a little bit more, and you're hoping to be profitable over time, you're not going to. You're going to be constantly feeding your bankroll with more deposits. Now, I don't like depositing money in my DraftKings bankroll at all. So I do everything I can to avoid that. I haven't really actually deposited since I started, which has been fortunate as well. So here's the secret to how I got there. This contest, this Milli Maker, take a look at the payouts. And I'm just going to give you an idea. So the top 1% of finishers here, 1% of 1 million entries is 10,000. So the top, let's look at a top 1% finish. So that's somewhere 10,000th or better. When you're in the top 1% in this contest, let's call it here, 10,000th. Okay. In this case, for a top 1% lineup, you can make about 4 times your entry fee or $20. If we go out to top 2% or top 20,000, we're down to $15. And if we go down to top 3%, which is still really hard to get a top 3% lineup, now you're just in 2x your money. So in the Milli Maker, every lineup, exactly top 3% or worse, at best is just going to double your money. And most of them are only actually going to return 50% profit on your money or 60% because your $5 will only return $8. The reason I'm pointing this out is so you understand that the contest is designed to suck the money out of everybody's pockets, except for that one person who finishes in first and takes the million. Everybody else is just a lottery ticket. You should look at this the same way you might look at a live final type qualifier. Basically, all or nothing. In this case, it's not just first place or bust, but it's pretty much first, top 20 or bust, and top 20 being a 0.0001% chance, or a 20 in a million, 10 in half a million, 5 in 250,000. The point is, a really, really difficult lineup to achieve to make any kind of money. In order to place a lineup in the top 1%, on average, you'd have to put 100 lineups into this contest. So that's $500 risked. And the best thing you're getting is that $25 5x on your top 1% lineup, unless you're in the top 20. Not good, and not a way to play DFS long-term successfully. So I do still like to attack that contest. But how do I pay for it? Well, that's where multipliers come in And I want you to think and understand the math behind multipliers. What is a multiplier? A multiplier is a contest where the top X number of finishers gets a multiplier on their entry. So in the simplest form, I'll bring up the 10x booster. What that does is effectively the top 10%, or let's call it 8%, 8 to 9, because they take their VIG. When you remove the VIG from the contest, which is margin is a fairly hefty but not too bad 13% in this contest. So not great, but could be worse. But nonetheless, the top 9% will 10x their money. So a $5 entry in the Milli Maker, remember, in the top, outside of the top 1%, is only going to return 2x. In this contest, every lineup placed in the top 10% will return 10x your entry fees. Why is this important? Let's say you're a player that plays in a lot of DFS and you're pretty good and you craft pretty good lineups and you put a lot of them in the money. I hear this from you guys all the time. Hey, I'm really good. Listen, these are exaggerations. No one's doing this, but all my lineups always make it in the money, but I'm still not making money, or I'm losing, or what's going on? Why am I losing money in DFS? It's because you're not playing in contests like this. Let me explain how this works. Again, if you're decent and you make a decent lineup and it's a top 8% into $5 entry in the Milli Maker, you're only going to return $8. In this case, though, in a multiplier, you're going to turn $50. Now, that might not seem like a lot in the short term. Oh, $50, what's the big deal? But you can achieve those in the money lineups very, very frequently. If you're just average, you're going to lose that 15%, but because of the VIG across all DFS. But if you're slightly above average at making quality lineups and placing them in the top 10% of tournaments, you have a real shot at hitting these 10x boosters frequently. Now, I don't care what the dollar amount is that you invest in DFS. It's really, really difficult to grow your bankroll, to actually physically grow your bankroll just playing head-to-heads and double-ups. You're going to win, even if you're winning 60 to 70% of those, you're still losing 30, 35% of them. You're just making a small margin each time. Normally, if I looked at my head-to-head margin over many, many years, it's really an ROI in the range of 2 to 3%. It's not enough to explode your bankroll. It keeps it consistent. It keeps it growing a little bit, but it's not enough to explode it. The multipliers are different. If you're hitting these multipliers, and I'll talk about another one. There's a few different types. So I showed the 10x. Another one that I love is the 5x, or the quintuple up. And here, take a look at this one. And this is where you want to raise your entry fees just a little bit, because these tile contests are very winnable. So in a quintuple up, the top 20% of finishers will get 5x their entry fees. Now, again, going back to our example of like a Milli Maker, you're only getting 1.5x your entry fee for a top 20% lineup, unless you're in first place or in, the top 2 or 1%. It goes up a little bit. Of course, first place goes up a lot. In a quintuple up, there's no difference between finishing top 5%, top 2%, top 20%. As long as you're in the money, you're going to 5x your entry fees. This is really important because you can feel a little bit more comfortable raising up the dollar amount you invest in this contest type. Can you build a top 20% lineup more than, let's say, 30%? As long as you're hitting them at around 25 to 30% of the time, you're going to be profitable, significantly profitable in a contest type like that. And if you can hit them above 30% of the time, you're absolutely going to be smashing. So quintuple ups, 10x, and then the ultimate sort of GPP version of this is called a super booster, where you can win as much as 40x on your entry fee. And again, let's take a look at, so here is we'll call this a 25x super booster, right? Let's take a look at this contest and see how the contest details work. First through 200th, this is a $4 entry. First through 200th place, get $100. That is a 25x on 4. So 25 times your money on $4 is 100. That's out of 5,945. So you need to finish in the top, about a top 3% of this contest. That was my quick math in my head. I hadn't prepped that. But you got to finish in the top 3%, but you get a 25x on your entry fees. Again, let's remind ourselves that in the Milli Maker, a top 3% lineup, which would be anything up to 30,000th place, some of those are only returning, 3x or 2x your money. 25x versus 2x. So multipliers for me, quintuplets, 10x, and the super boosters. The other bonus to that contest type that I think is sort of not really, I'm going to call it underrated, right? The underrated part of that contest type is you don't need to discover the turd at 0.01% ownership that popped off that no one ever would have dreamed of playing to have a shot at winning it. In the Milli Maker with 1 million entrants, whoever that random WR4 is that pops off, or WR3, or backup running back, or somebody you never would have thought to play that week, whoever went off, probably not going to be owned by most of the people in the tournament. A, there's not that many. The tournament size is much smaller. B, even if a few people have it, that doesn't mean all of them are going to have it, and certainly not the top 20% of entrants will have it. So it's much less likely that in those contests, people will even be going that far off the beaten path. So for my quintuple ups, especially my quintuple ups and my 10x, I'm pretty much just playing what I call my 3 max lineup, just the kind of lineup that I like. It's correlated, QB correlated with a pass catcher or 2, but I'm not overly concerned with fading extreme amounts of chalk. Maybe a little bit unique in a spot here or there, but a lineup that I like, a lineup that you'd play in your fantasy football league. That's the kind of lineup that takes down or cashes in those type of contests. So the margin for error, much greater. The profitability, much, much greater outside of when you take one down on the big contest, right? First place changes everything, change your bankroll forever. But you should be looking to build your contest selection approach week to week with a focus on multipliers. That's what I've done. It's helped keep me in the game for all these years, and I hope this information helps you stay in the game longer. A healthy ecosystem for DFS is better for all of us. So that's why I'm here making these videos explaining how to be a profitable Draftkings NFL DFS player in 2024. If you want more information, first make sure please to like and subscribe to the channel here. Hit that notification bell. We have breakdowns every single week throughout the NFL season, free right here on the DFS Army YouTube channel. And if you want to take your game to the next level with tools, ownership projections, player projections, coaching in our incredible Discord, lineup construction techniques, everything we do at DFS Army, make sure to go check it out. Promo code GEEK gets you 10% off. We've got NFL only plans. We got plans for all sports. VIP plans covers every sport in existence. Whatever you need to do, look at the top of your tournaments. You see those DFS Army helmets up top. Join us. Get in on the game before the NFL season comes around. If not, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.